Hey guys, 8.9 has been out for a few days now, so time to see what Korea has cooked up for us and what's new over there. We have a few spicy ones as well. First proper thing that we're going to look at today is Mindo Jungle. Definitely broken in this patch, the top jungler now over there, and he's a big change. So we got a massive buff in 8.9, up to 100% healing now from his ultimate, which is crazy. But the way they buff this is kind of like, if you don't buy healing reduction, he's going to heal for an absolute ton. If you do buy them, he actually still heals for what his potential max was last patch. It really shows. His win rate only drops super late game where people actually have 6 items and they can burst through his armor and stuff and his health, so the healing doesn't matter as much. It's kind of weird though, because he is okay top lane, maybe top 10 around that area, but nothing that amazing. It's his jungling where he's actually popping off the most. When he gets Cinderhulk, Visage, and Warmogs, that 3 item spike seems to be a bit too much. He becomes unstoppable and there is no way he's going to die with his ultimate active unless you really screw it up. The jungle version is a little bit different from how we do it as well. So we max our Q first normally. They actually max their E first, which does a couple of things. So first off, you get a minimum of 110 bonus AD. It actually also gives you more based on how much health you're missing. So if you use it at lower health, you get way more AD. That is for a whole 5 seconds though. And plus for the next attack, you actually gain more range and deal 5% of your maximum health on top of that. You're going to be clearing a lot faster. Farming the jungle is really easy. You'll duel better as well, and you'll kill people a lot easier. If you don't believe me, maxing this is kind of like sticking 3 BF swords worth of AD in your inventory to fight with when you activate it. For the runes, we have a few choices, but like Grasp the Undying is quite popular. Even Conqueror as well works, but Fleet Footwork is what they do most of the time. The extra healing, the more move speed, the rune page is almost perfect for him actually. It lines up so well. He was massively overbuffed though. I'm not really sure what Riot was thinking with this one. We have to invest gold to cut his healing, but he still heals for what he was healing last patch even with that. If we also put that money into healing reduction items, we don't put that money into damage, and so we can't kill him either. For either way, we're kind of screwed. Okay, so Fiddlestick support is a weird one, but has kind of replaced like Zyra and Brand a little bit in Korea, if that makes sense. It's not massively popular, but it's actually played a fair amount and played even more each patch as well. He can absolutely smash players in the first 30 minutes of the game. It really is like a win lane, win game pick. His E does a lot of damage actually. The science is broken anyway if you can abuse that, but the fear on top of it, it means he's really hard to gank or fight 2v2. He's then obviously got this massive ultimate to come over a wall and cheese kills all day, which can give you a big lead. If Fiddle can get ahead in the lane phase like that, he is actually the best support in Korea for ending with a lead in 8.9, as weird as that sounds. Avery will help with that a little bit, help you poke a little bit more. Comet does the same thing really, but obviously we go Moby Boots in Korea. You can run into mid lane, fear them, nuke them down with your mid laner. It's actually really effective. You're also a pretty good counter to the meta at the moment, so like to Morgana, because you can remove her shield with your damage, and Rakan, because when he jumps in you can actually fear him and he can't do anything else. It's a bit of a cheese support really, but I think it's nice to have more than just sensor stuff flying around, and he actually works as long as the game doesn't drag out too long. Ezreal is another one that we want to touch on today. Always popular in Korea, but it's this build that we found the other day with Reckless that he was playing. Double tier is so strong. The biggest downside is that it has to scale twice, and sometimes that can take a little bit too long in a game and it can suck. Rushing Manamune though helps with that a lot. You stack your first one a little bit faster, and they have actually swapped to mostly getting Trinity Force with this build rather than Iceborne as well. It's a bit less mana, but obviously you have way more sheen damage, so it's even more powerful. Like your pokers, your Q, it's more expensive as well. The idea behind this, by the way, is that your Q, your ultimate have dual AP and AD scaling, so the AP you get from Archangels actually boosts all of your damage. Even though it sounds weird, it actually does. You also have this massive shield from Seraphs as well. You have even more mana. It's about having a bigger mana pool as possible really. Your Muir mana, so like having your Q do a bit of extra damage and stuff, that does a percentage of your current mana as damage. So if you have more total mana from having Seraphs and also Muir mana, is a bigger percentage and bigger poke. Even with this build as a champion, he is still better early to mid game rather than super late, but he does scale a bit better with this. After Archangels in the build, it is back to Blade and normal stuff like that. And by the way, if you have Manamune and you buy Archangels before you've transformed it into Muir mana, the Archangels will upgrade first, even if you bought it second, and you'll be kind of screwed. You have to wait until you have Manamune transformed into Muir mana before you're going to buy your Archangels. This build really unlocks another level of strength for Ezreal, lets him scale a little bit more, poke harder, poke more as well, and do a lot better. So Graves came up in 8.8, not exactly new for 8.9, but he is now the most played jungler in Korea by an absolute mile. The buffs really pushed him up a bit, I guess, like the ultimate cooldown lowered, more health per level, but it was one of those things where he was probably already pretty good, people just weren't playing him. He provides a stupid amount of damage, and his ganks are better than before as well. That came from actually 8.1 though, ages ago. The slow was increased on his smoke screen, but for a shorter time to help him gank. There are two things that I've noticed from my games and in career especially as well. He has way more damage than I expect. He walks into my lane, he just kills my lane opponent on his own without me. Second thing, he seems so tanky now with the extra health per level and with the cleaver build as well. He seems like he has way more health than normal. Late game, his damage is ridiculous though with his shotgun shots as well, and he's still winning most of his games at around 2 to 3 items where he can burst people properly. If he gets behind, he's not always the best pick really. Fleet footwork is the rune choice over there, more balanced play. Electrocute as well though for more burst potential, and that choice is really up to you. I would say Fleet is more common though, and it's easier to use. Matchup wise, Warwick, Evelyn, maybe Xin Zhao are the only matchups he seems to struggle a little bit with in career at the moment, but he is just that strong. Like, he's good into any game. At high ranks, he's becoming pick or ban. He does crazy amounts of damage. He can also suck as a pick though if the player just defaults to farming, which is kind of easy because you farm very easily, but you want to use that gold and use that damage. So Vlad Top is also not really new for career, but more popular right now, and he's abusing the new Unsealed Spellbook rework. The Shurelya's build is so good, especially with Proto Belt as well. I had the pleasure of getting railed by this the other day. He'll pop Ghost, Shurelya's Proto Belt, and there is no way at all you are getting away from him. Vlad has a lot of damage. The problem he has is that he struggles to get into range to use it, but not anymore. Anyway, Unsealed Spellbook, the new version, means that you can actually take Flash Ignite into most games, which is really good for your team fight, but then you swap the Ignite to Ghost for team fights to get into them, or swap it to Teleport if he wants to split for a bit. It's actually probably a bit of a better version of the Keystone for him right now after the changes, as long as you switch on your brain when you're doing it and swap correctly. This build is a little bit cheaper than before, so it spikes pretty early into the game as well. You should get to 3 items first and then just wreck the game from there. We talked about this a lot already, but like Zhonya's, Morello's, Deathcap are also solid items to round out your build. Runes, you just have a ton of cooldown reduction and scaling. He has played mid lane a lot as well, but it's really Top Vlad that is the one doing better in 8.9 so far. He does have a few rougher matchups like the new Shurelya, but he also draws even with very strong champions like Camille. Vlad is a monster at the moment. I think he can really 100% solo carry a game with this build as long as you're aggressive enough and you do actually go in. I guess you're using that speed to get into the backline properly. Morgana is now the most popular support in career, by the way, partly to sort of counter like Rakan, but also just because she can pick people off, protect, and also make plays. It isn't just support we're going to talk about today, actually mid lane as well, and winning a lot in both in 8.9. We're so used to Morgana having support items that we forget just how much damage she can actually do when she grabs a death cap. She also has the backup of the spell shield to help her AD carry her team, a lot like why a Karma mid works at the same time. If Morgana can hit a Q mid lane, it's kind of like 50, maybe 60% of their health gone. It's actually unreal. One of the things this patch is she's now the most banned support over in career at the same time, and for pretty good reason. She doesn't keep up as well with like a Janna or a Lulu in team fights, but she is much better in lane and the first early few fights in the game. She's also part of what I think is the most powerful lane in the game at the moment with Caitlyn. That alone can like crush the lane phase, just the two of them. Avery is still going to be the go-to for support or mid, actually both of them. In career as well for support, they go more like pure support items apart from Zhonya's though, like Redemption and Locket and stuff. Mid lane it's really like Luden's, Deathcap, Zhonya's, the normal AP stuff. Any more aggressive lane, Morgana actually shuts down and can counter if played properly. That is really why she's number one. Whether you play her mid or support, there isn't much you can do against Morgana. She shuts down your engage with her shield, but has enough of her own to pick fights and actually do damage. Okay, so a cool assassin that we've been seeing a bit more of is Talon, getting a little bit better recently with the major nerfs, tabby nerfs, and a few buffs to him. This patch, what they actually did was a bug fix, so the 2 jump. It was supposed to be 575 range, but in game it was actually 500, so they fixed that and put it back to normal. It turns out as well, giving an assassin more range to jump on somebody is pretty good for them. Who would have thought? Even top lane Talon is popping off a lot more now, but we're going to focus mostly on mid, even though a lot of it is the same really. They always get Moby boots. They just disappear in lane. By the time the enemy mid lane has pinged missing, you'll be in another lane over the wall and killing somebody. The build hasn't really changed much from what it used to be. Dustblade first is the go-to, even though Ghostblade can be just as good for moving around a little bit more. Talon is one of the best assassins right now, and he has a very solid win rate throughout the entire game. This is kind of what makes him so strong. You can't just play him more defensive and wait for him to fall off a little bit like Zed. He has the potential to nuke you down 20 minutes in or 40 minutes in. It doesn't really matter. It is almost always electrocute and sorcery secondary for pure damage for your rune page, but I'm going to show you an alternative aggressive one. Of course, some people abuse a resolve tree and go bone plating and chrysalis secondary. That is really about surviving the lane phase and making him easier to play. But I mean, if you stick him next to a mage with any rune page, he'll be fine. That's partly why he's so strong at the moment. The bug fix this patch made him a lot stronger. Wave clears getting worse. A few mage nerfs have also helped him have an easier time and get a few more kills rather than being stuck under his tower. Okay, so Sona is one of the best supports over in Korea so far in the patch, but not much has changed for her. Like, she got a few small buffs to a power cord, auto attacks making them do a little bit more damage, but that was about it. Every time we talk about Sona, I feel like I say the same thing, but she's only good because her team fight is off the charts crazy. She might not have the most obvious impact, but her spamming her heal, her damage boost, her speed boost so often during a fight is absolutely massive for your team. It makes way more difference than you think, really. Sticking a sensor as well on the entire team with her heal and shielding, redemption, locket, all these items, it just makes her way too good. She is basically like the Vayne of supports. I know it sounds really weird, but her lane is not that strong anymore. I know we used to talk about her being a lane bully, but her damage is not where it used to be. It's about scaling now. I know as well a few people take tier on Sona over here, and they do that in Korea as well, but they don't upgrade it until it's fully stacked already and it can go straight into Seraphs. Honestly, her matchups are pretty even. Aggressive lanes she has to kind of like hold out for team fights, but weaker lanes she can bully a little bit and easily scale. Both are really good fits for her. Sona is awesome for solo queue right now. She isn't the playmaker that might help you boost terrible teams like a Rakan, but she is a teamfight queen who gives her team a massive advantage without doing anything difficult. So I hope you enjoyed a little look into Korea and what they are doing right now. Thank you for watching the video, but for now, I'll leave you with the robots.